We're here to protest the layoffs at SUNY Downstate. It's our understanding that the layoffs are going to occur in waves, several waves, and it could result in as many as thousands of our members, people who work here and live in the community, being laid off.
Protect our patients, protect our jobs, protect our patients, protect our jobs.
I've told the governor and the speaker and my colleagues that are fighting with me have made it clear that we don't believe that cutting jobs is going to help the economy.
We came here to say we want to be energized by you. We came here, this is a filling station. We said we're tired, we're going to stop by the road, be re-energized so we can go back and do everything in our power as your elected officials to preserve jobs for the health care of this region.
Those of us who represent Brooklyn and live in Brooklyn and work in Brooklyn know how important Downstate is to the ability of Brooklyn to survive, to stay healthy.
To allow this hospital to go down the tubes is a moral outrage.
Let me first and foremost thank all of you for doing the right thing for Brooklyn.
Hi everyone, and keep up the good fight. I'm here on behalf of the Crown Heights Jewish Community Council and the Crown Heights Jewish community to add the voice of the community to keep healthcare here in this community. Keep the jobs here in this community.
We stand with a voice to say you will not close SUNY Downstate Hospital.
And we need to save these jobs because what affects them is going to affect everybody. And if we don't save these jobs, our jobs will be on the line eventually. So it's very, very important that everybody, every union member all across the country, not just SUNY, should be present here to make sure we don't lose the numbers, we don't lose those people. They're going to need the job to also help the economy, and we have to recognize that.
The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Rowena Black and Stroud, and I'm chapter president at SUNY Downstate, where the chapter represents 3,500 members. Today, we hand over a petition with more than 10,000 signatures that urges Governor Cuomo to intercede and rescind the 400 job cuts that have already occurred. The petition, signed by Brooklyn residents, heads of household, community leaders, downstate patients, caregivers, faith-based leaders, also asked the governor to prevent hundreds more jobs cuts slated to happen in the restructuring plan. The economic impact of these job cuts in Brooklyn will be devastating. Hundreds of displaced downstate employees will lose their homes to foreclosure, leaving families and children with nowhere to live. This in Kings County, which already has one of the highest rates of unemployment and foreclosure rates in New York State. Small businesses will fold, leaving more Brooklynites without work. Thousands of residents, many of them with low incomes and without insurance coverage, depend on Downstate for health care.
And I want to speak to you, sisters and brothers, not only in the union movement, but here in the Brooklyn community. And I want to remind you of a couple of very basic things. First of all, we have over 10,000 of your friends and neighbors who agree with us that closing Downstate Medical Center is not the way to go, or even reducing jobs at Downstate. Think about the loss of health care in this community. Think about the loss of economic opportunity to not only the people who will lose their jobs, but the small business owners and other people who depend upon the income that our members and other members of other unions make. If Downstate Medical Center closes and the medical school suffers and possibly closes, the other medical schools don't have the capacity. I come from Upstate Medical in Syracuse, New York. Our classrooms are full. We don't have the capacity to add new medical student slots. So the members of the diversity community, members of the minority community, will not have the opportunities that they have right now. So I'd like to just make a very brief but a hopefully very clear message. Downstate Medical Center keeps Brooklyn and New York healthy. And Brooklyn and New York has to keep Downstate Medical Center healthy as well.
I'm a mother of 3 that needs my support. How would I put food on the table, pay my rent, take care of my kids' school, and the health care that they need? I live in Brooklyn. This has been so difficult. And I appealing to Governor Cuomo to intervene and reset my job laid off notice, because the service that we provide at SUNY Downstate Medical Center is very important.
I am truly saddened by the situation that Downstate has put me and hundreds of my coworkers in, and by the way, with the threat of more layoffs to come. I don't know how we'll be able to provide for my family, pay my bills, put food on my table. Myself, I don't want government subsidies. I want to work, earn my keep, pay my taxes, take care of my family, and I think I can safely say that my coworkers all feel the same way. So I appeal to you, Governor Cuomo, please resend the hundreds of letters that were sent out and stop future layoffs.
SUNY Downstate is critical to the Brooklyn community. It is critical to the New York City community. What it has done for years and what it is now poised to do with the merger with Litch into the future is continue to be an engine of opportunity like no other, a provider of medical services that are deeply needed, and a place where thousands of people, largely Brooklynites, make a proud living taking care of other people, which is something to be proud of and not ashamed of. That's what this is about. And so we're going to stand together and we're going to make sure that we don't slowly let Downstate slip away. We don't wake up in 3 months and say we have no other options. We are going to work together today to make sure we have a comprehensive plan for the future of SUNY Downstate, of the medical school, and of healthcare in Brooklyn and New York City, because that is what we owe the people standing behind me and the people across this borough.
Management screwed up. Management dropped the ball. And we see a continuation of that ball being dropped when we're saying we are laying off 1,000 employees, yet we are hiring individuals with salaries in the north of 200,000. That is wrong. If there's a problem with the fiscal responsibility, allow the controller of the state of New York to do his audit to find out where the money is so we can make a determination of how we reshape Downstate to move in the right direction. Right now, we are practicing malpractice. You don't remove an institution that's the 4th largest employer in the borough of Brooklyn and don't expect for it to be an impact in this borough at the same time. Everything from the corner bodega to the livery cab to the corner store to the hospital personnel, everybody will be impacted.
There is still time to save the 1,100 jobs that are slated to be eliminated next April 1st when union contracts permit those situations to occur. The governor of the state can submit a budget in January that will save this hospital and many other hospitals throughout the state of New York from these devastating losses to health care and jobs. And if the governor doesn't do it, then the legislature can add the funds to do it at the time of the budget's adoption. So I call on the governor to save this hospital now, in terms of the release of the available funds now, and to assure that it remains preserved and saved in the future in next year's budget.
Downstate is a indispensable part of the medical service that's provided to our community because it educates physicians. And so many of these physicians that go through and graduate from Downstate come back to our community and spend their lifetime serving the people of Brooklyn, in addition to other parts of the United States that benefit from what happens at Downstate. So when we put all of that together, the only answer we can get, put in all of the equation and all the formulas, is that Downstate has to remain open. And I am determined that with my colleagues, we're going to band together. I mean, band together. We got 20 legislators from Brooklyn. Downstate is not a neighborhood issue. It's a borough-wide issue.
Brooklynites have been hard enough by this economy, so we need to be creating jobs, not cutting them. The economic ripple effects of these cuts extend far beyond the hospital to the many businesses that we all know that provide services in and around the community, especially the small businesses that rely significantly on SUNY Downstate. Massive layoffs at the hospital or closure would mean that these small businesses and the folks that work for them won't be able to survive. Beyond the loss of jobs, Brooklynites will be hit with the loss of medical care for thousands of unserved Central Brooklyn residents. SUNY Downstate is their lifeline. Every Brooklynite deserves the best health care that we as a society can provide. So for the sake of Brooklyn's health and economic future, let's send a message loud and clear. No more layoffs and no disruptions to medical services.
There are families that were impacted by that job loss. The hundreds of families in the past and the possibility of thousands more in the future. Those families are impacted by that loss of income. Loss of income that will eventually allow them to not be able to pay their bills, to pay their rent, to buy their groceries, to put any money away towards their children's education in the future. So we have to ask ourselves, what kind of standard of living and quality of life do we expect as New Yorkers? And we have to ask other questions, like what kind of city do we want to live in? What kind of future do we want to leave to the next generation of New Yorkers? Because the fact of the matter is this, if we want to consider ourselves a progressive, enlightened society, we have to do more for those who have the least. And right now we're going to do just the opposite if these closures go through. So we have to all join together and understand that we ask, as a labor movement in this state, we ask all those parties to come together and solve this problem so that we can save these jobs and save these services for those who need them the most. Because the fact of the matter is, we have a right to have the best quality of care, the quality of service, and we have a right to expect to have a standard of living and a quality of life in this city and this state and this country that we can all be proud of.
No one talks about it on the other side, that SUNY Downstate brings over $60 million annually to the community and to Brooklyn. No one talks about that. The majority of doctors that leave SUNY Downstate stays in the city of New York more than any other medical school in New York State. SUNY Downstate employees live in the community. SUNY Downstate invests in the community and is a vital part of the community. I challenge the trustees of SUNY and I challenge this governor to have a vision. Brooklyn is on good economic recovery. Brooklyn, beside being a borough, is the 4th largest city in the United States. That's a fact. And I challenge this governor to have a bigger vision and not be short-sighted and invest in Brooklyn.
We cannot afford to have Downstate closed. And as NAACP goes, we are supporting all of the members of Downstate and the unions to see to it that it does not close.
We are standing together. We are raising our voices to let the community know, let the governor know, and those who are in charge, that we will not be silent. And as like Dr. Martin Luther King said, we will not be satisfied, and we will never be satisfied until we see righteousness flow like a mighty stream, even in Central Brooklyn.
It is an injustice on everybody if we allow Downstate to become another statistic here in the borough of Brooklyn. We need them. We need what they do. They increase the quality of life in the church and the faith-based community. We are all saying we're not going to have this.
We will not back down. We will not go backwards. We will go forward. And Downstate Medical Center will remain as we look forward to a brighter tomorrow. God bless you.
Devastated SUNY Downstate employees who received pink slips are begging the governor to stop job cuts. News 12's Nicole Ryan shows us how they are fighting the layoffs.
Deanna Mason says she's one of hundreds of employees who received non-renewal notices from SUNY Downstate Medical Center, a letter telling her she'll be laid off next year.
I just panic because they need me. My 3 kids need me, and I'm the only provider.
She, along with others who face losing their downstate jobs, joined a rally. They stood by elected officials and union leaders who are helping them fight the layoffs. They're asking Governor Cuomo to step in and stop the job cuts at SUNY Downstate.
I think people are dehumanizing this situation, and it's all about the budget and the bottom line, but it's about people.
Officials say Downstate serves 400,000 patients every year, many of whom require special treatment they could only find here. Andrea Douglas agrees. Her daughter receives treatment for lupus at SUNY Downstate.
And I'm pleading with the Governor Cuomo to really consider to give a bailout to SUNY Downstate. I really don't want it to close, because I have nowhere else right now. Think I have to take my daughter.
Lawmakers say Downstate faces a major operating deficit. That's why the job cuts are being made, but argue there are millions of dollars set aside that could be used to stop the layoffs. In downtown, Nicole Ryan, News 12, Brooklyn.
And News 12 reached out to Governor Cuomo's office for comment, but we have not heard back yet.